I want to go a little bit deeper into AI. And, part of this is, I guess one of the questions I wanted to ask is, so you guys have managed to take an existing technology, MRI technology, and significantly drive down costs and significantly drive down time. And I imagine maybe part of that is because you're very specifically looking at for very specific things. You're checking for, I think now, tens of different types of cancers that you guys can spot. Am I getting that right? Or is the AI that you guys have designed, would it be able to broadly bring down the cost and the time required for an MRI? And I guess what I'm trying to get at there is like, was AI the right solution here because you're looking for something very specific? And is it a bad general purpose way to try to drive down time and cost?
Yeah, so the answer is both. Our kind of first effort in decreasing scan time is that we designed a recipe for scanning that was tailored for screening. And that by itself helped us reduce scan time from like 3 hours to like 1.5 hours. And then we layered in AI to accelerate the scan time even further. And then we layered in AI to accelerate the interpretation time even further, and so on. So our stance with machine learning is that it can be used to automate things or to enhance things. And we don't think ourselves as an AI company. We think ourselves as a cancer screening company that leverages AI to decrease the cost of cancer screening. And can talk about a lot of too much, but next year we have some stuff launching that will significantly decrease the cost even further from the current levels, which are already pretty good, from 10,000 to 2,000.
One of the other questions I want to ask is, probably I, like a lot of people listening, have heard a lot about AI, and yet I, at least, for myself, haven't worked at a company that has, as you guys say, yes, developing AI is not the mission of the company. You want to make it much, much, much easier, much more affordable, much faster for people to screen for cancer. But AI seems to be the right tool. And so one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, what has it taken for you guys to be world-class at AI? And I guess what I'm curious there is everything from what does the team look like to how is this different? How is building AI software maybe different than software you've built previously?
Yeah, so AI, especially in healthcare, boils down to one thing as being the most important thing, which is data. The neural net that we use at Ezra is not state of the art, reinforcement learning, which is kind of the most popular stuff you see these days in DALI and Stable Diffusion and so on. But the value of what we've built at Ezra is all in the data. We have what we think is the largest data set of full body MRI images out there. We have created internal processes for curating data sets for training AIs. We have internal teams that are responsible with running what's called verification and validation for AIs. When you create an AI and you want to put it in production, you need to have it cleared by the FDA. To do that, you need to validate that the AI works on your intended population, on the types of magnets you want to scan on, etc. So we have an incredible team at Ezra and partnerships that allow us to acquire all of this data that we need in order to validate AIs. So I think in building AIs in healthcare, the data component is the limiting factor. And we have a huge advantage at Ezra because we have a lot of data and we have a lot of processes internally on how to acquire this data. So from a team structure perspective, because you asked about that, we have an incredible scientific officer who kind of leads especially our MR team, who is the inventor of parallel imaging in MRI, Dr. Dan Sodikson, who's the vice chair of radiology at NYU. I think he's now chief scientific officer at NYU. That's his title. And then he also spent part-time with Ezra. They have a team of AI engineers. We have a team of AI infrastructure. We have a team of regulatory affairs. And we have a team of operations. And all of these teams work together to acquire the data to train AIs, iterate on the AIs, acquire the data to validate, write 900 pages, submit to the FDA, get clearance, and then move on to the next one. So it's kind of the biggest surprise for me in building AIs for healthcare is how much time is actually spent on data more so than the neural nets themselves.
Yeah. I imagine obviously the having to get FDA approval and having the regulatory aspect is obviously very unique as well too. You alluded to it. I'm sure you're being completely serious that you do need a 900-page report that's going to the FDA.
Exactly, like a report that you submit to the FDA for clearance is roughly 900 pages.
So if you were to try to estimate, and not that this can go away, and not that it's a bad thing that if you're building technology and AIs in healthcare, that it needs to go for validation and testing to some external third party. That's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it is. But, if you were to think about the pie chart of how much time you guys spend on AI, what percentage of that is dedicated to just managing the regulatory aspect?
Frankly, not a ton. Like it's I've actually been very positively impressed by the FDA and the quality of people at the FDA. They really know what they're doing, and having a body that's external, that's unbiased, that's focused on protecting consumers, so like with safe and effective devices, creates a really useful forcing function for companies, because you really need to get all of your quality management in place, processes in place, validation in place, and so on. And so having the FDA as the regulatory body that we need to submit to whenever we create one of these AIs is actually internally for us really, really useful, because it forces us to get all our ducks in a row. And so we would have to spend all of this time to run V&V and so on, regardless of whether we filed with the FDA or not. It so happens that filing with the FDA creates a really clear kind of business reason to invest in all of those processes. So I know it sounds odd, but I've actually quite enjoyed the process of working with the government body like the FDA, because I can see the value of putting out there a device that's safe and effective.
Well, and as you said, I mean, it kind of raises the bar for rigor internally with which you're doing these testing, with which you're kind of distilling down and making decisions and deciding what to do and what not to do.
Exactly.